Ertz didn't start, by the way, because he'd got a touch of flu on the actual morning of the time trial. They'd all booked in that. They'd gone through all the checks and everything else, but the race hadn't started, and he woke up absolutely sweating and felt very unwell.
Crucially, they wouldn't allow him to be replaced.
No, they wouldn't. That was the annoying thing, because he was a very useful man for Cadel Evans, and so Henri Redant was a bit upset going to the jury and saying, please, look, I've got another rider here. I want to put him in the race because the man can't start because he's sick. They said, no, he must be taken off the start list, and that's how Cadel didn't have one of his number men alongside him. But certainly, he said to me that Cadel has been out there training in Spain. He's in very good form, and he's coming this year having relaxed a bit more on his racing program, and so he was very happy with how things were going with Cadel at the moment. Henri Redant, by the way, if ever you go out to races and you see the Sion's Lotto car and Henrik is actually there with the team manager a lot, don't interfere when he's busy with his job as a team manager, but he speaks jolly good English. He's very good company, by the way. I can assure you, we've propped up a few bars at that time, and he's a nice man indeed. He always comes up with something which is jolly useful to hear, and he's prepared to find time to speak to journalists and commentators at races, as and when he isn't tied up with his racing activities.
Landaluze, we were just having a look at there from Euskaltel, wearing the orange jersey. He's not had such a bad time. He was runner-up on the Tour of Burgos last year. He's had some good runs in the Tour de France as well. A couple of years ago, he was second on stage 7 in 2007, and he's been on the podium a couple of times, I think, as well, in the Vuelta and in the Tour. And so he's not bad, but it's usually mountains, it's usually part of an escape group. Now today he just happens to have a bit of talent, unfortunately for him, rocking and rolling, and Terpstra is one of those, 13th and only 41 seconds down overall. Trofimov as well. There's Remy Puriol of Cofidis, who we've seen taking on buckets of water. I'm not really sure what his problem is, but he, or whether he just likes the brief pull from the car, because he's taken 3 bottles, as far as I can see, in the last 10 kilometres. There is Trofimov, as we just continue to go through them, 48th overall, but still just over the minute mark. And here is Puriol. Now, has he got a bit of a sweat going on? Maybe some of the flu that's been going around may well have affected him, and we're being unkind to him here. We're certainly carrying an awful lot of extra weight in terms of liquid at the moment, because he just keeps getting those bottles.
Well, 2 things here. First of all is that they're not allowed to take drinks in the last 20 kilometres. And as it's downhill, they go down like the proverbial off a shovel. Those last few kilometres, 6-7 kilometres, they won't really want the cars coming alongside them. They may need all the road. So they're going to take the drinks now, I think, before they go over the top and down the other side. That's first. Secondly,
do they like the extra weight on the descent?
I've got to tell you a story about this. There was Robic, a little French guy. I mean, little. Gosh, he was about knee-high to a grasshopper. And Robic, I think we got just nearly to the top of the climb. Robic had no weight about him at all. He could climb very well indeed, and at the top the story was to give him a bottle made of lead, and he put, and this is true, and he put this lead bottle onto his bicycle to go down the other way. Honest.
There we are, we've just passed through the final climb, incidentally, and guess who took it? Puriol. And you know what, I think you might well see Puriol just edge out or off the pace now. I think he's done his job for the day. He's won all four climbs. He's on 20 points, and in terms of the mountain classification, he is head and shoulders ahead of everybody, and will be by the day's end. So well done to him. That was with 28 to go. They're coming for it, David. They're heading home. This is absolutely amazing. 3.5 minutes. Well, we said they needed to get probably about another minute than they have actually managed to wind them back to be sure of catching them. It's going to take one hell of an effort coming off this final peak in the run for home, and Francis de Jeux have suddenly picked this one up. They'll be working for Sebastian Chavanel and Andy Gesslin as well towards the end. They've got De Gregorio, who's a half-decent climber, on board the Francis de Jeux outfit, but they've all just left it a little bit too late, as far as we can gather, according to the terrain. Now, as the run-in is in the city of Saint-Etienne, the last 4 kilometers is really the do or die for those chasers. It gets a bit squiggly. You've got a couple of roundabouts to go. There's a few zigzags here and there, but essentially it is a street course. And you know what? It's going to be hard to keep a view on those out front from 2 kilometers away, Mark, because it does get a bit zigzaggy, which means that you can't see your target men up in front of you. Not long straight boulevards after 2 kilometers to go. And so if it is getting crucial in the run for home, they're not going to have sight of the hares, if that makes sense.
Well, the big thing is, of course, Carl, that the French are now beginning to have a go, because they've got so many French, or rather sponsored by a French team, that they're now coming to the front to try and restore some of the honour on behalf of their teams. And at long last, they're about a good minute and a half down on what I thought they'd be by now. So I think they've left it a bit on the late side. Because when you and I were talking before we came on air, I reckon they'd be much more closer than this, and that also if they did get closer, 1 or 2 riders who are looking for a stage victory could jump away on their own and take it into their hands to have the courage to go down the other side on their own with a small group anyway. But in reality, it's coming down, but have they left it too late? The France really are trying hard now, and interestingly enough, BMC are sitting in the wheels. They don't out it, and Callum Evans has come up near the front now, and 1 or 2 of the riders are recognising that that gap has got to come down, ready for the time trial tomorrow.
It better come down, and come down quickly, as they head finally onto the descent. They're only just hitting it now, and 2 minutes and 44. Now they're still climbing, but the boys ahead of them are coming off it, don't forget. There's still that little bit of a climb still to go, and then all of a sudden you do get into the rush down towards Saint-Etienne. Now if they're still clear, David, with 4 to go and the gap is still 2 minutes, that's basically the magic moment, I think. It's
the difficulty of this twisty descent, and that's why the top guys are at the front. We shall see. This is going to be right like a cliffhanger, to excuse the expression.
Welcome back. Here are 5 escapees, and that at the back, the gentleman is Remy Pouriol. And just to remind you, he may be wearing red and white right now, but he'll be in a polka dot jersey by the end of the day. White spots on a red background it is, the inverse of the Tour de France. He has won the first 4, well, all of the climbs today, and as a result we reckon that the sprint probably won't feature him too hugely. I think they've kind of let him off really and let him go through those gates, David, but nonetheless he has done it, and he will be wearing polka dot.
Yes, and of course tomorrow with that time trial, and they won't be dislodged on that particular occasion either, so he's got the glory into the next stage after that. So yeah, so at least he's got something to be happy about for the day's work out there. It has been a tough day when they went away quite early, wasn't it, today? And you imagine all the way they had to go on the flatter part to build up that lead of what 9 minutes for the maximum of it. And of course they really worked hard at that, because they had, I think, a following wind. They did something like 43, 44 kilometres in the first hour.
48.2 in
was
fact.
it as much as that?
Yeah.
Right.
So they were all just nudging the 50s. It was a really fast pace earlier on today. After they'd done that and kind of lost almost the will to live, I think, as they hit the first of the climbs, the gap was down to 5 minutes and 30. It's been coming down ever since, but crucially the final climb has been completed, and there's still 2.5 minutes between them. As you can see, this is the chasing pack, and they've been swapping duties, you've got to say, up front again and again. Working for Tom Boonen and Jérôme Pinot, quick step, Marco Velo as well, in amongst that gang for that group, and Silence Lotto, of course, protecting the yellow jersey. Or maybe I just missed him. Oh, there he is. There is our leader, Cadel Evans, always a diminutive form, mountain biker, of course, of old, so knows how to go up a few hills, certainly knows how to time trial. He took the time trial on the opening day of the Dauphiné and has been in yellow ever since. Tomorrow, David, we've got another time trial in the offing.
Yes, the time trial will be, something just for every man for himself, as the case may be. But I'm still going back to today, because I'm just trying to work out what's actually going on, because we've got the riders here stepping up and trying to have a go then from the quick step team to see if they can get Tom Boonen in with a shout today. So Tom must be in there so that they're going to start putting the pressure on. So you need something like that to bring you back together, but they'll only do it if they think they can get there for the sprint finish. It's no good just bringing bringing people like Cadel Evans on to the finish just for the benefit of the overall classification. So a lot's going to play into the hands of the way they come down now. They've got to close that gap down, and that's a lot to cut back. 2 minutes 32 seconds in 24 kilometres, particularly when you're going downhill. I know the guys out front have been there an awful long time, but this could be right very close to the end of the stage if they get caught. And again, the thing about Saint Etienne, it's a very big town, by the way. I think it's on about 400,000 people, a massive for town. It dates back an awful long time, but it's grown and grown. Around the outskirts of it as well, there have been a lot of coal mining, and of course the industrial area likewise, but it's been built up bit by bit. So we're going to come in through quite a busy town with lots of twists and turns on it. It's not one of these sort of country runs when you come straight in and you've only got about 5 easy kilometres in towards the finish. So it's thrown in, obviously an industrial town as it is now. It's changed enormously over the years, but getting your act together, you've got to do it much further out. You can't leave it down to the last couple of kilometres or so.
You're absolutely right. From kilometre 4 to 3, as we count down, we'll be on the Boulevard Georges Pompidou. That's almost arrow straight. And then we've got 2 major roundabouts as we go continue on that boulevard to the 2 kilometre to go mark. And then all hell will break loose, you can be sure of that, because at that point you're running towards the Stade de Letty Valerie. Is that the football stadium? I don't think it is. I think that's the Geoffroy Guichard, where Saint Etienne play, the team that famously play in green.
Yes, it's called Up the Greens. Yes, it is, and it dates back. The Saint Etienne team was founded in 1931 when the Geoffroy Guichard Stadium was built with funds from the Casino supermarket chain. So Casino here have got more than one interest in getting something into it, because the Casino was only in sort of cycle racing over the years gone by. But that's it. The Casino supermarket chain it was that put the money in to build it up, and so that was a team which dates back to 1931, the year I was born.
There we are. It was a fine year. Fine wines were produced that year as well, as they were in my birth year, 1961, which a bottle of Pomerol apparently will cost you a couple of £1,000 from that year. Anyway, Angelo Furlan, talking about men in green, he had a great day yesterday, took the stage. He put all his batteries on full blast, on full drain yesterday, and he's got nothing left, unfortunately. He is trailing the peloton. That's the gap here. These are the leaders. It's 2 minutes and 33 back to the peloton. Out of the back of the peloton is poor old Angelo Furlan, and he's dragged some teammates from Lampre down with him. They are 1 minute and 20 behind the peloton, David. So clearly, unfortunately, he shot his bolt yesterday, and he shot himself in the foot, really. And those who've been back to help him, I don't know why on earth, I know they've got to protect the jersey, that he didn't just wave them back and say, go and do your own thing.
I think it's company, and if they're not going to get anywhere in the overall race, then they might as well just go back and keep him coming. Because again, if he punctures, for instance, and the rest of the guys that we leave him there, he's not going to do the chase to get back there. And of course,
and as if by magic, here he is. In fact,
yeah, with his teammates with him, they've got nothing else to ride for. They've been all the top guys. Don't be disrespectful to Phil and the boys that are here. They were riding the Giro d'Italia, which finished 10 days or so ago, and that was their ambition, to be out there in the Giro d'Italia, waving the flag and doing well there. So when they are here now, they've got another job to do as domestics, to look after the guy in green, and also on the basis at some point later on, if he can stay somewhere near it, if he can only get back into that group, then at least he'll be able to live for another day. But and of course, the other thing which they'd like to have happen is that none of the protagonists for that points jersey overall, if the race comes down to other people than those who could get the points jersey, he wants to stay to show that he has a chance later on. And it's always a race within a race, and there's one or two other guys out there. There's quite a number have been blown off the back when you look at it. It didn't look too fast, the speed, but it's done its damage, hasn't it?
It certainly has. Steve Cosser's there, I think, although forgive me if I'm wrong, but Hector Gonzalez from Fuji Cerveto was in that back lot as well, who had a good Giro. Maybe he left his legs at the Giro. You never know. So here we are with 21 kilometres to go. It's holding at 2.5 minutes here, David. This is precisely what we were saying. Now, it is still a bit hillocky, but we're waiting for this twisty run home.
Yeah, and the team car's coming up with final instructions and the odd bottle of water, I think, before they have to go back into the pack, because it's not that hot. Sometimes if it's baking hot, they allow them to take on water up to only 10 k's to go, but it's not been too hot today, so they've got to roll through now. The team manager has come up to them and had a chat, Probably because I don't know, I haven't checked that. That is not the lead team car, that's the second team car. You can tell by the look of the car and the bikes on it whether it's the lead team car or not. And I suspect why he came up there was to talk to him, because with 20 k's to go, A, he can't come up and give any drinks from now on in, but also they have these links with the radios, but the radio actually is linked through with the team manager in the team manager's car very often. He's the one who does all the instructing. So often when the second car comes along like that, he comes up to verbally give the information to the rider, which he wants to add to what may not be coming over from what the team manager wants. So it's just a bit also enthusiasm to say, come on lads, this is what you're going to do, get stuck in, and from what we're hearing, the group aren't going to catch you if you keep working. So it's also at this stage, after being out there all that length of time, a way in which they can encourage them as well.
Frankly, that's what needs to be done, and if it is your last chance to actually be in touch verbally like that and give a bit of private information rather than something that's going to go on the airwaves, and that's the time to do it. And of course, last chance to take on the bottles. Not too hot today. You can see as you look back through the veils there, you see the bright and darkness where the clouds are offering some shade today. They're working hard. Is that Steegman's up front chugging away? Nope, it's you know what, momentarily there I threw myself back to Steegman's into quick step, so forgive me for that. It's his long foreleg I was looking at. Steegman's of course with Katusha these days, after his big contract re-signed, in fact just at the start of this one. So yes, fooled I was there.
Yeah, with the quick step, it says to me something amongst the riders, like we saw earlier on BMC beginning to do the work at the front. Oh, by the way, BMX, when I first launched the BMX back when I was at my Halfords day, we built the first BMX track. My friends from Rally, because I've been with Rally for 7 years, because I went out to New York to see a cycle show to find out more about BMX, said to me, David, BMX will never take off, don't bother. But I paid my own fare to go out there to see the cycle show, because Halfords wouldn't send anybody directors out there, and it's become an Olympic sport.
Incidentally, Steegman's is just off the front here with a couple of Katusha riders, so you could put it down to a little bit of Mystic Meg moment there. Here we are, Silence Lotto also, and Astana working very, very hard, and a couple of the Garmin boys here as well, in the absence of Trent Lowe, by the way. Don't bother looking for him. He has pulled out, I think it was after the second climb today, just he said he'd had enough. Despite being a former mountain biker, the youngster decided that today was not his. Here is Cadel Evans wearing the leader's jersey and right in a huge phalanx of Silence Lotto boys, being well protected today.
Yeah, I'm interested then when back to the way in which it's sort of sorting itself out. Now, certainly the riders are looking for an overall victory, beginning to get near the front of this particular occasion. But it says to me that the Quick Step doing so much work right now are probably thinking they can pull this back, because the only way they can do it then with Tom Boonen, because there's quite a good straight run in towards the finish. Oh, no, there we are. I've got plenty of support then for the lads from Cofidis, although what they were doing a lot of chasing on the front, they seem to have drifted out of that chase now. But 2:12 on the little drags in towards the finish. It really starts to go down shortly, but I was intrigued to think that the chase from Quickstep is actually taking place there. It was earlier on, and so perhaps they are going to get caught then. 2:10, 20 k's to go. It's coming down a lot quicker now, isn't it?
It's excuse me, it certainly is. Valverde, we saw the Kyrgyzstan boys as well, working for the man with #1 on his back. He's third in the overall ranking, 23 seconds down on Cadel Evans. Might well fancy himself as well in a run-in, but David, if they do get caught, it's going to be a bit of a heartbreaker, this, because for a start, all our predictions will have gone in the bin.
At the moment then, these riders out here, the one thing is that although we've got still 5 riders together, I think looking at the back here then, the B-box rider hasn't been doing a lot of work, and so there could be, oh, they've eased back a bit.
Eased off, yeah. 2 minutes and 9. Now check this out, nobody wanting to do any of the hard work here. They're just trying to roll ever so slightly. Just about everyone involved here. And I'm just wondering whether what is the game plan here, David? Oh, hello. Kyrgyzstan just stretching themselves. Quick step, keeping mindful here, and they come to the front here. Well, this will be interesting if Valverde can be helped out in some way. BMC just well, they were doing a lot of work early on. They just seem to have eased off ever so slightly. So just about everybody, I've got to say here.
I think
they keep trying to spark it up and try and ignite something, but nobody wants to pick up the mantle.
Well, no, I think what we're seeing now at the moment is that there could be a reason for, say, if we can finish within a minute of those guys, they're out there, they've been doing a good job all day long. If the sprinters teams aren't going to take the challenge up properly now and to go for a stage victory, then we, the big teams, who've got the guys who can roll a bit faster, if we can stay within catch them or get within a minute of them, then come the time trial tomorrow, even if those 5 guys are out there by a minute, with all due respect to them, they're not as good time trialers as some of the top guys who are going for the overall victory in this race. So it could be they're saying, look, let's roll. Let's hope that, as we're seeing here with Quick-Step, that we might have another sprinter team, like we saw with the BMC teams, begin to come forward and really get stuck in and try and go after the gap. As far as the Lamprey team are concerned, they're not going to do the chasing down. They got their victory yesterday. 4 of them are off the back, certainly 3 of them plus Furlim. They're not going to do much rolling. Team Columbia had Marcus Massel Zeeberg there into 5th spot as well. And so in reality, I'm not sure which of the sprinters teams is likely to do much work now. Yes, again, look, see, we've got it's happening on the front. The Quick-Step riders for Tom Boonen have got to do a lot more work.
Significantly as well, I think Team High Road are probably working for Rabon here. He's a very, very good time trialist, don't forget, and if they could drag him back up and close this down a little bit, he might have a chance of doing something a bit special later on. He's in 6th place, 34 seconds down on Evans' time. Because I was trying to work out who it was that Columbia were working for. I just saw very busy there Adam Hansen, who's formerly the lead-out rider, or usually is, I should say, for Mark Cavendish, and will be doing that duty within the Tour de France, you can be sure. He and Craig Lewis were there, Maurice Passoni, as well as Franisek Rabon. I'm just checking the GC, and there is Rabon, and he's only in 6th place. Time trial. 34 seconds, he might fancy his chances if he can stay amongst the leaders and the main group. So I suspect he is the one that Columbia High Road are working for.
Well, we've got down to 40th place riders all within 1 minute of each other. So providing they can end up within 1 minute or so, those guys down the road, they will have a chance for the time trial tomorrow to sort things out. Because with all due respect to those 5 riders, they've been out there on an awful lumpy day. They've done a lot of work. They've been taken in turns to try and get the stage victory. They could, although they might be up in the top 5 places on general classification at the end of this, and therefore starting towards the back end of the race, they won't have a lot in their legs to, and it's quite a long time trial tomorrow, 43 kilometres, isn't it? With a bit of a drag in the midst of it all. So
42.4, yeah.
So it could be bad. Yeah, it could be, unless the sprinters, particularly we're seeing here, the Quick-Step riders have a bit of a go, and BMC, like we saw earlier on, where anybody thinks they've really got a chance to sprint. It's just unfortunate, I think, that they haven't got the Lamprey team with any legs to help them out either, because their top man's gone back, so they're a bit thin on the ground when it comes to that. So the Quick-Step riders have really got to get stuck in, and it's coming down. It will soon be inside 2 minutes.
It will, you think, but it's been holding station, I have to say, and they just keep sitting up like they're doing right now. Well, it's absolutely holding station just for the time being, just over the 2 minute mark, 2 minutes and 8 seconds, 15 kilometres to go. And as you can see, they're not charging it right now, but they're going at one heck of a pace. It would be nice if we could just tilt the camera down and check out the kilometres per hour that they've got on the descent here. It is twisty, but as a result, it means that the pack will not see them. Being over 2 minutes away, they're certainly not going to at this speed. So it's all down to those who fancy a decent descent. I hope they keep it sensible here and don't just start to lose their focus. Landaluze looks very comfortable on the descent, but then again, you always seem to get that from Euskaltel riders. The Euskadi boys know their way down a hill as well as up one. They'll just keep it sensible just for the time being, but as soon as they get on the flat run into home in around about 10 kilometres time, they're holding station because you can't go much faster than these guys are going up front. So the peloton can't catch them when it's on this kind of descent.
Oh, I've been over this road so many times in the Tour de France going into Saint-Etienne. So we understand that Castepan has started to chase. I'm not quite sure whether they're going on the front to close this down. They must close it down to about a minute, and they're not doing much about it on the descent, because these guys are equally capable of going down as fast as the main pack. And so some of these hairpin bends, you go into them very quick, and they tighten up as well. That's when
the odd one's off camber as well.
Yes,
we're coming up to one right here. I know it's not a serious one, but if it is off camber, that really does come as a shock, because you set yourself to take the next bend, and you must not judge yourself on a motorcyclist either. Their attitude is very different to that on a bicycle, as you can see. Well, the pack is coming down, and as we were just saying, you can't really over push it on a descent like this, and if you do, you can get into trouble. There's David Miller, incidentally, 10th place, 37 seconds down. A very brave effort by him in yesterday's stage. We really thought he'd got it, but just lost out with around about 50 meters to go. Just got eaten up. So 13 kilometers left. It is trimming down very, very quickly in terms of the distance remaining, but not in the gap. 2 minutes and 4. So they've won 5 seconds in 5 kilometers. That's not good.
No, I thought they'd get nearer to 1 minute. I think they're quite happy we'll let them go for 1 minute, but 2 minutes is a bit. I don't think it'll make a massive difference in the time trial and the overall GC after tomorrow's time trial stage. But I think one or two people would like to have had it closer than that. And I think what's happening here with the riders from Castepan is not so much to close the gap, which they'd like to do a little bit. It's just to keep their man out of trouble, because they've got to make sure that Valverde, who won this race last year, doesn't come a box of tricks on the way down. And I said, I begin to recognise some of these bends on that occasion, and you're talking about the curves, the off camber and how you go around them, but also from motorcycles' point of view, you see the cyclists can lay themselves down a lot further. Chat with the cameras actually which are being used, get a chance sometimes to look at them. They're much smaller now. In the old days, a great big heavy camera, and when the cameraman was actually standing up on the back of the motorcycle, it added to the weight. He was right up in the sky virtually, and the motorcycle went down, and the weight took him, and down he went, and the pictures just went woof like that, and it was quite spectacular as far as we were concerned. And Ronald Pansac just went on into finish. But see the twist, the other thing about what happens is that the cyclists can accelerate. They're going faster than the motorcycles can go this bend, that bend, this bend, that bend, and they do close the gap enormously quickly. But there we are. It's getting near to 2 minutes. It needs to be closer to 1.
Yeah, and also the closer they do get to the motorcyclists, the more dangerous it can be as well. And there's no commissaire just within sight of the bikers up front, although they're close at hand. They'd given a damn good telling off a couple of days ago when they were too close and were effectively helping those pursuers. Now look at this, Castepan really stepping it up here. They're trying their hardest, but as we say, on a descent, the speed gap, the speed differential between those who are actually pushing it, as you can see Castepan are at the moment. I think this is for safety's sake. They want to keep at the head and just make sure that they work for Valverde, and that if anything does happen within the pack, which is always a possibility on a nasty twisty descent, that he stays out of trouble by being at least at the front. And if anyone does go down within the pack, he's not going to be affected. Look at these 5 here. They're getting the cheers from the locals with 10 kilometers to go here, David. It's hold station at 2 minutes and 3. Now this is where it flattens out. There's still a few little tiny hillocky descents for them to go through. With about 4 kilometers remaining, what do you reckon the gap will have to be for them to make it home?
Well, I think they want to be. They can be relaxed to be up to say 1 minute in that last 5K. I think they could afford to lose 1 minute, and that's going to be the trouble here. Is that if they start looking at each other and it gets less than a minute, then they could be in trouble with the bunch begin to come at them. But I think the bunch also, once they get to within 1 minute, the guys who are looking for the time trial tomorrow will say, look, all these 5 here, they won't be in the shout after tomorrow. No, we've got another Volunteer to go over in this race as well. These guys can have their moment of glory today. Just let's get closer to them. Let's stay within a minute. Let them have the stage victory. I don't say they give it beneficial. Say, okay, chaps, off you go. They worked hard for it today, and it'll be down to them to get the stage, because it's still not coming down. It needs to be. I think they'd like it nearer to a minute, but they might be happy. Some of the team managers saying, okay, even let them stay out there for 2 minutes. But even so, if you look at the overall performance of these guys in this race last year, when the trophy mop was 12th overall at 5 minutes 59 seconds. You can't allow a little rider like that, a good rider, to have a few minutes today and then survive the time trial tomorrow and still, you know, got the big climbs then afterwards. So I think they've got to close it down a bit more, but it doesn't look like it's happening at the moment.
No, Turpin, who was 5th in the Grand Purs a couple of years ago, he won the Circuit de Mine as well. He's had a bit of a hiatus in terms of his Palmares for a couple of years, not really quite sure why, but he's 74th overall. Don't count the AG2R rider out at all here. Nine kilometres to go then, and we're heading into the outskirts here. In fact, we're already there, of Saint Etienne. It is the run for home right now, and when they get to about 4 to go, and you know what, not wanting to be part of this, I think Remy Puriol is just having his final drinks of the day, and I think refreshment is his main concern today. He has done his job, his main concern from now on, I should say. He took all 4 climbs today, the man in the Cofidis outfit, wearing bright red next to you. Big jump there from Landaluze, and you saw the camera take it as well. Speed bumps can come at you, and there was nobody there warning them that it was there. Some of them are quite high, you've got to say, and they've had one. They'll certainly be watching out for the next one, because Landaluze almost looked like he was vaulted out of the saddle there. He certainly got a wake-up call.
Yeah, that's right. When you're riding behind somebody in front of you, you can't see a change in the surface like that, and you expect it in towns that you're coming through on smoothish roads, and of course zebra crossings and so on are often, they look okay until you suddenly discover you've got a speed bump in them. This is one of them, and I think they're I won't say a menace, but they're done for a purpose. But now it's 7 k's to go, 2 minutes, that's it, it's over and done.
They're
and
finished.
Dusted.
That is Case Disband saying, you know what, we're not going to push it here. They are not. So it's going to be between these 5. I suspect 4. I can't really see Remy Puriol. Mind you, you never know. You never know indeed. Our money's on Trofimov, wearing number 108. We both agree. The backside you're looking at in blue at the moment is just sailing through is Ludovic Turpin. Will he do the business very, very late on? But we think it's going to be Trofimov in the B-box. That's blue and black from the B-box Bouygues outfit. And Nicky Terpstra as well from Milram. We think it's going to be between those 2.
It is. And by the way, interesting enough now that Castapin were waving around and shouting. The Ceylon's Lotto boys said, OK, we'll come and do a bit now to take Evans in towards the finish, close it down a bit to just cut that gap just a little bit more, but also to do a bit of work. I think they felt they've been unfairly dealt a bad card in not having any help. But I think the other thing is we saw there with the gendarmes standing out in the central reservation, that here again what's happening in big cities is it's very dangerous at bike racing, and you need the sort of gendarmes there blowing their whistle and waving their flags so they know what's there ahead of them. And their sensible thing for man in the yellow jersey is to get toward the front, keep out of trouble, because you can't afford to find yourself on your ear roll when you've got 6 k's to go. If you come up with troubles with 3 k's to go, then it's a different matter. But right now they've got to get him safely and sound through there. So all the top 10 riders or so. But said earlier on, when you've got, like we've got, 40 riders in 1 minute, a lot of riders are going to try and keep out of trouble.
They most certainly need to. Trofimov, incidentally, as we just look at number 115, that is Terpstra in the Milram black and blue, 108 in the blue and white, and there is the AG2R. Yes, Trofimov in the 108 blue and white, Nicky Terpstra in Milram blue and black. Will they be black and blue by the end of the day? Yuri Trofimov is 1 minute and 2 seconds down overall. Nicky Terpstra finds himself only 41 seconds down overall. They have a 2 minutes and 16 gap, and you can see that has extended by around about 9 seconds in just the last couple of kilometres. It's going to be between these boys. There is no will, it seems, to wind them in. This is going to play well and truly into the hands of both Trofimov and Terpstra. I suppose if it is split between them, then of course Terpstra is going to take yellow here, even if Trofimov pips him across the line. There is bonification points up for grabs here today, David.
There's 10, 6 and 4 as usual on the stage, so you can start doing your sums and taking that laugh as well. But 10, 6 and 4 for the, but then again, if as we see in a finishing sprint that in fact it goes to Trofimov, for instance, he gets to 10 seconds, then the other guys on the general classification will have to be fighting out for the other ones behind him. So if he does get that, so often a chap who might get the sprint might not be that bothered about the overall GC as it stands at the moment.
Well, there's going to be be a bit of shenanigans, you can be sure, between the 5 riders who are out there. They're all suddenly starting to believe and know that the 5th place is going to be their worst position on this day. So a podium would be very, very nice. Podium finish on the day. Cadel Evans mixed in with Silence Lotto and Case Dispan riders. And here we are. Time for a look-see as to who is going to be a contender. Yes, this is going to be interesting.
Well, certainly Trofimov, I think, has got a chance then. He's had a very good career in the early days, and I think looking down at his successes so far, he could go for it. But a very experienced rider, by the way, is this Turpin. There isn't much he doesn't know about finish. He always wins 1 race a year here and there, so it could be that he's got the experience likewise to do something in the run in toward the finish. Again, being a French rider, he would want to go into Saint-Etienne with a stage victory. I think our man we're seeing now has done all the mountain climbing. Has probably not got much left in his legs. But again, the glory of getting a stage victory in the Dauphiné is there for all of them. But it's going to be a fascinating sprint, because I don't think that they were expected to stay away all this length of time. They did what they could in the mountain. They were hoping maybe to be out there. And I'm just surprised, in fact, that when we came over that last climb, that they didn't start to break up. It just shows they're probably all more or less about the same level of fitness, except that Trofimov seemed to be soft tapping a bit on the climb.
There is Trofimov wearing the number 108 in the B-box outfit. They're wearing number 115 is Terpstra. That wearing 71 is the Cofidis rider Remy Puriol, who took all the climbs today. Meanwhile, back at the main bunch of the peloton, there is Cadel Evans in the leader's yellow jersey. He's going to have to hand that over today. One suspects that Trofimov, if they can hold off this 2 minutes, and with only 3 kilometres to go, they're going to do it. It's whether Cadel Evans can do the business in the time trial. I suspect he probably can. 42.4 kilometres may well suit him, but you got the likes of Bert Grapsch as well, don't forget, will be more suited to that as part of the Columbia High Road boys. But it'll be František Rabon that they'll be working for, because he's close to Evans in the overall standings. He's down in 6th place, but that is tomorrow. This is now with 3 kilometres to go. So 3 to go. 2 next time by. It's just going to click down in a few seconds time, and they're all playing this cat and mouse game. They're all looking at each other just now, David, and well, as well you might here. I wonder if Remy Puriol could go for glory on the day and take all the mountains and the stage. That would be something. There is Landaluze just drifting by the AG2R rider of Turpin, hitting the front. That is Terpstra in the black and blue, and following him is the B-box big man Yuri Trofimov. They are swapping positions again and again here. They know that 5th place, as we said, David, is going to be the worst finishing position, all of these guys on the day, provided nothing untoward happens. That's a very good effort for all of these boys.
It is, but just joined our program late, and I did say earlier on, I thought that apart from the fact they're going, looks like they're staying out there, so I'm going to eat my straw hat, because I thought they were going to get caught today, or certainly the gap would come down to a minute. On that sprint, by the way, that this lad Trofimov, that I keep promoting him, he was in 2007 when he's riding for Moscow Star. He had 7 victories, by the way, including 3rd in the championship of Russia, and you've got to be pretty good. And I'm pretty certain he's done a lot of track racing in the background. No doubt somebody will catch up on that for me, but I've got an idea he's been a jolly good track rider indeed. In fact, he derived the Omnibike Dynamo Moscow team as well. So I think we understand there's been a bit of a crash, by the way. We understand that somebody's fallen off right now at the moment. And so it just shows the danger which is happening back there. A lot of tired riders right now, and so a number of the top guys are moving towards the front, and the gap is still just over 2 minutes and 2 Ks to go.
One of the fallers is František Rabon from Columbia High Road, and he has just got into Cyril Gauthier of B-Box Bouygues Telecom. That's a nightmare for poor old Rabon. We were just talking him up and saying what he needs to do is get to the front and clearly stay amongst the main bunch. And you know what? That's exactly what he was trying to do, and he somehow has gone down and so has Cyril Gauthier from B-Box. Oh, here we go. 1 to go then. This is it, the final kilometre, and 2 minutes and 1 second is the gap. Now then, a cat and mouse time. Looking over his shoulder is the blue and black of Terpstra. Has a look. He wants to keep an eye on the big telecom boy of Trofimov. He's all over the back of him. We think he's going to take this one. That's who our money's on, but also waiting to pounce is Ludovic Turpin. Landaluze at the back in orange, and the man who's taken all the climbs today, Puriol, possibly not going to be involved. It's going to be about a man in blue, we think, but you never know. It's now or never, fellas. Well. We've had the 1 kilometre to go. We said there'd be some cat and mouse here. Nobody wants to show their hand too soon and drag everyone else along with them. Trofimov playing it very cool in second place here. There's Turpin in third, and it's Terpstra out front in the black and blue. Goodness me, they all want to have a go, David.
Trofimov ought to be in third. He's in second. He's looking back over his shoulder, and he's trying to drop back a bit. Look, he's trying to get. He doesn't want to be. Second's not a good place to be. He wants to get back into third spot here. And the Milram guy is also concerned. He led them out this particular far. Unless there's your man you had a long shot for.
Oh, Landaluze, here he comes in the orange. He's burst through. Now that has lit the blue touch paper, and Landaluze has suddenly gone for it, and he believes he can get it here for Euskaltel. What a day this would be for him. Suddenly on his tail is Nicky Terpstra. Terpstra in the black and blue from Milram just tries to get it together, and he got the bit between his teeth. Oh, brilliant stuff. He hits the front, and he's left them all behind here. They can't get back. There's no room. Oh, he almost got caught at the line there by Trofimov, but Terpstra gets it.
Trofimov got shut out then in that sprint finish by the Milram guy, and the way he came across the line, I'm surprised he didn't put a bunch of fires in his mouth. He was, if we get a slow motion replay of that one, it may not be as close as it looked from here, but it looked like he was actually cut out then by Terpstra, and there was the look on his face then. He was trying to get through, and he got cut out. I know he got the victory, but my goodness, it came good. I'm not surprised he went past the lad from Euskaltel, because the sprinting's not the best game, but he made a good sprint then, but he was all over the place, and I'm hoping we may get a top shot of that to see what happened to our selection, because I think he was shut out the last minute.
Yuri Trofimov beaten out by Nicky Terpstra there, and Turpin as well. Now then, here it is. It's the race for the minor places, and Cadel Evans has been dragged to the front here, and they've been working hard for him. It's time for the main bunch to come in. You're going to have to wait a minute or so, because 2 minutes or so was the gap as they crossed the line. Wonder what the finish time will be. There it is. It's been it's fallen down just a little bit, as you can see. It is starting to count up here. They have already finished. The finish time 4 hours 32:34. Some very good work. They need to keep it sensible. They haven't exactly shrouded some of the legs here. Well, it's pick your moment time, and Liquigas are going to hit the front, and so are the Lamprey boys, just to try and get themselves a little bit of joy here. And arm goes up. Was that Steegmans? So there we have it. 1 minute and 30 was the gap in the end, David, or near enough. What a day it was for those 5. They made it, and all credit to them.
Yes, now let's go.
Here we go. Now this is the big moment here. Now watch Landaluze in the orange at the back. He's sick of the cat and mouse going on here. He's just about had enough, and he thinks, well, if I'm going to go for it, I may as well have a go right now. And so he does. Comes through and just wakes up Turpin and the B-Box guy, Trofimov. He hits the front, settles himself down, has another check, and suddenly Terpstra sets off after him in the black shorts, as you can see, wearing the blue top here. Close in attendance is Turpin, but dragging along is B-Box and Trofimov, fourth at the moment. Now then, as Landaluze starts to waver about here, can't find a way through, and there goes Terpstra. He'll be the man raising his arms right now. He did it. Actually, he did it fair and square, you know. I think, to be honest, Trofimov lost his way because of a fading Landaluze.
He went all over the place. No, he got also squeezed by the other rider there that was stuck in there. Turpin also got in. I think he was all over the place. And I think the trouble happened when he started on that corner. He got himself in the wrong place and started working his way through.
He's boxed in here, you can see it.
He's boxed in there. He gets through that. He tries to go again, and he can't get round because he's boxed in again with the guy in front taking the victory. So it was, I think, bad tactics on his part to have got himself in the wrong place at the wrong time.
So there it is. Nicky Terpstra takes it for Milram. Ludovic Turpin, it is. The highwayman gets it in second. It comes out second ahead of Yuri Trofimov. Puriol, who takes the mountains jersey today, finishes ahead of Landaluze, who started that off. And it was Trusov, I beg your pardon, who came home as the leader of the rest. So there it is. What a day. It came down to cat and mouse. They've been out there an awful long time, and indeed from around about 30 kilometers out, these five were doing all of the work. Remy Puriol of Cofidis was always going to be a spectator here. He'd been allowed to take all the climbs on the day, or, well, that's unkind really. He did a very good job, but was never going to be one of the main features at the end, surely. Well, in the end, Euskaltel's Landaluze almost stole it, well, in his own mind anyway. Terpstra got the best strategy in the lead-in. Trofimov got mugged. The day then going to Nicky Terpstra of Milram. Well, warm congratulations. The boy done good.
He did do today, but of course the shuffling of the pack on the overall classification